Let's see how deductive patterns of reasoning work. This is based on section 2.6 of the chapter 1 PDF logic. Okay, let's consider a firm premise, which is my name for the deductive reasoning pattern based on the tautology we looked at last time, which reads if P and P implies P and P implies Q imply Q. Okay, this is the basis of a deductive pattern of reasoning. What does this mean? It's a justified deduction made in an argument or proof. Here's how such a pattern of deductive reasoning is presented. Premise 1 is P implies Q. Premise 2 is P. The conclusion is Q. What this means is, now, first of all, notice that the two premises are actually the two parts of the condition of the implication. Okay, and the conclusion is of the pattern is the conclusion of the tautology. Because of the tautology, we know, well, if we know that P implies Q and we know that P is true, then we also know that Q is true. The three dots here mean therefore. The first two lines are the premises of the argument, and they're the same as the two conditions of the tautology, and the last line is the conclusion of the argument and the consequence of the tautology. Okay, here's an example of how this deductive pattern or move is used. Suppose that you know the following two things. If Frodo has the ring, then he is sick, and Frodo has the ring. What else do you know? Making the affirmed premise deductive move, you can claim, on this basis, I know that Frodo is sick. Okay, here's another pattern. It's called the deny conclusion pattern. It's again an overall implication, and the condition has two parts, P implies Q and not Q. You've denied the conclusion of that first implication. Okay, so here's how it's written as a deductive move. P implies Q is premise 1, not Q is premise 2, and the conclusion is not P. Let's look at an example of how you would use this pattern of deductive reasoning. Let's say you know in an argument the following two things. If Frodo has the ring, then he is sick. Frodo is not sick. What else do you know? You know that Frodo does not have the ring. Again, we call this pattern deny conclusion. Here's some more patterns. Section 2.6 presents 8 useful patterns. We'll just look briefly at 2. The first one is skip middle, because if you look at the two premises are P implies Q and Q implies R, and the conclusion is P implies R. We've skipped the middle, which is Q. Okay, here it is concretely. The first premise is, if it is snowing, then it's cloudy. If it is cloudy, then it's dark. Let's say you know those two things. Then you also know, if it's snowing, then it is dark. Okay, another one is common outcome. This one has 3 premises. The first premise is either P is true or Q is true. The second premise is P guarantees the truth of R. And the third premise is Q guarantees the truth of R. The conclusion is R. Here it is concretely. If you know that it's snowing, if it is snowing or it is cloudy, and if it is snowing, then it is dark, and if it's cloudy, then it's dark. If you know those 3 things, then you also know that it's dark. See the full text, or see the text for the full list with explanations, and also some derivations of the tautologies, or the simplifications of the tautologies behind these patterns of deductive reasoning.